Click on it now. There we go.
Well, welcome back to another episode, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are joined by Samuel Chong to talk about the book, and I apologize. I know I asked before we got started how to pronounce it, but we're here to talk about the book Thiaoouba Prophecy, The Golden Planet, Abduction to the Ninth Planet by Michel Demarcusque. It's quite an interesting subject, everything it involves. So without a doubt, it's definitely going to be an interesting show tonight. So Samuel, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me here.
Oh, we try to make it open for everybody.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've been looking forward to tonight. I mean, I read your background, as I said before the show. I read your background, and it's a very interesting subject when it comes to the spirit world. But could you tell us a little bit about yourself before we head into the deep end, as one would say?
Yes, I was born in Beijing, China in 1978. And since I was young, I was always interested in learning the unknown. And I came to the US at the age of 15, went to high school and college, UC Berkeley. I studied a year at London School of Economics, and also got my master's degree from a university in Spain. And I went to the US, came back to the US, and I started working as a paralegal, and also started working as a certified court interpreter. And I speak Mandarin Chinese as my native language. And right now I'm doing a lot of work for doctors and lawyers and also the court systems.
Yeah, that's quite a lot you've done there. I mean, as we were talking before the show, it's quite a hard job sitting there typing everything that everybody says in the court. You know, it's quite interesting, as one would say. So can you tell us a little about this book? I mean, I find it fascinating in a kind of spiritual sense with the ghosts and the spirits, but I know Dakota finds it interesting because of the alien side of stuff.
Yeah, the book is actually written by Michel Demarcusque, a French Australian, who in 1978 was taken away by this group of ETs to their planet for 9 days and then came back. What was important was that he brought a lot of knowledge and information about the mysteries and the paranormals of the world. For example, he was told how and when the Great Pyramid of Egypt was built, for what purposes, what happens in the Bermuda Triangle, what really happened during the destructions of Sodom and Gomorrah, and who really parted the sea for Moses, helping the Hebrews to escape the regimes or the rules of the ancient pharaohs, who is really Jesus and Christ, and what are the real dangers on earth, and things like that. And also it's fascinating because it explains like what ghosts are, and also explains the purpose of life, also about reincarnation. So everything that people may wonder about is explained in the book. So this book is so fascinating that I really want to tell everyone about it.
That's so interesting. I've got so many questions for you tonight. I mean, I've not had a chance to get the book. I will get the book and I will read the book. But it's something I've always wondered. The pyramids, why were they built?
Yeah, the Great Pyramid of Egypt was actually built by a very learned, wise man from Atlantis about 17,000 years ago, using anti-gravitational technologies and supersonic laboratory systems to cut the huge stones in a very precise manner. Because Thoth, the person from Atlantis had the knowledge, he was able to align the huge stones in a very precise manner so that it could be used as an energy center, absorbing terrestrial and celestial cosmic energies, so that it could be used as an energy center to communicate to people on different planets and in other worlds. It could also be used to make rain. And actually, the Great Pyramid of Egypt was not the only pyramid that was built by the ancient civilizations. There were also other pyramids in different parts of the world, including one that was actually on the continent of Lemuria about 14,500 years ago, and that Great Pyramid was actually bigger than the pyramid in Egypt.
I've heard that. I've heard about that, and I've heard that. I find it fascinating because you get South America, you get the ancient Maya, they built pyramids, and also a lot of people don't realize, but there's pyramids actually in Europe, but they've actually just come across them in Serbia and places like that, which I find very interesting.
Exactly, and also once you know how they were built and for what purposes, you're able to see that the ancient civilizations took advantage of the knowledge that they had to build this massive structure as a tool to really communicate with people on different planets. And this is fascinating because it's never been meant a tomb for the pharaohs, and it's been
they
debunked.
just used that. They used that. Yeah. They seen this ginormous building and thought, do you know something? That would make a great grave when I die. That's what they did.
Yeah.
So, as you were talking, when it came to the figures of Jesus and Christ, perhaps one of the things I've noticed in some of the interviews I've listened to, that you've done to talking about this book is that the figures known as Jesus and Christ may have actually been two people. What's the story behind that?
Yes, Jesus and Christ, according to the ETs, there are actually two different beings. You know, when I was reading the Bible, I always wondered about why Jesus, like there was no record of Jesus performing miracles before the age of 30, before he began preaching. And why, when he started preaching, he didn't call his mother mother, he called his mother woman. And that actually also explains why Jesus, some people say that Jesus went to India and why there's a tomb of Jesus in Shingo Village, Japan. Actually, the Jesus born out of Virgin Mary was actually born from the embryo implanted by the ETs into the uterus of Virgin Mary, just to fulfill prophecies and to show people that someone extraordinary was going to be born at that time, so that people could pay attention to that event. And but because when the astral body goes into the embryo, the astral body of a person would have to pass through what the ancient Nagas would call the river of oblivion, forgetting all the events that happened in the past and forgetting all the knowledge that he learned in the past. So that's why the young Jesus, even though he was highly spiritual, having a very interesting conversation with the teachers of the temple, he couldn't perform miracles. That's the Jesus who went to India and died in Japan. And people can still visit the tomb of Jesus in Japan. Just look it up, Shingo Village, Japan, tomb of Jesus, and you'll find a lot of information and videos on that. And that's the Jesus who didn't die on the cross. The Christ who died on the cross was actually an ET being who took on the body of Jesus, made by themselves, just to appear like Jesus back then, just to show people that he was someone who could perform miracles, so that his teachings could be believed. Remember, in the past, as nowadays as well, people were and still are very skeptical. So they wouldn't believe anything that everyone just says unless he could perform some kind of miracles. So this is the reason why they took on the body of Jesus and performed miracles. And this is the Christ that died on the cross and then resurrected 3 days after, just to show people at that time that there's life after death and there's reincarnation. But as some of us all know, the concept of reincarnation was later removed by the Catholic Church Council meetings.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I find that I didn't know about that about Japan. I find that so interesting.
Mhm.
I'm going to look that up tonight about how he went to Japan. I did not know that. I've never heard that before. I find that fascinating. I mean, I always thought to myself that the Bible was a wee bit made up. I always thought that because if anybody's ever read the Bible, which I have, there's people in it that's lived to like 900 years old, and what was it? The Bible was actually written. Was it 400 years after Jesus was meant to have passed? So
Yeah.
it's like, what do you believe here? I mean, I find the reincarnation thing. I find that fascinating because I see this pops up a lot, especially in the spiritual world. And I've had like mediums tell me you can choose to come back, but when you choose to come back, you forget everything. Could you tell us a bit more about the reincarnation?
Yes. And before I get into that, this book, Thiaoouba Prophecy, has a lot of specific verifiable details, such as the tomb of Jesus in Shingo Village, Japan. It's spelled as
Yeah.
Shingo, Shingo Village, Japan.
Right.
And it also tells about reincarnation because Michel Desmarquet was actually taken by the ETs to his past lives so that he was able to see who he was in each different past lives. So one time he was a German mining worker, and then the other lifetime he was a queen of a country ruling one third of
Wow.
the planet. And then but most of his past life were like common people, like beggars on the streets, like a goldsmith in Japan,
Mhm.
and very common lives, because in each past life he would have a specific lesson to learn, because the purpose of life is to accumulate spiritual lessons and experiences, and then send the experiences to the higher self, which is connected to the creator of the universe, the source, what we would call God.
Yeah.
And each person would decide when and which families to reincarnate into, and what kind of lessons to learn in the next lifetime. It's actually been proven by psychologists and doctors in the US, and people interested can read the works of Dr. Brian Weiss, Dr. Michael Newton,
Yeah.
and Dr. Ian
Mhm.
Stevenson.
That's. I mean, I, I've heard stories about reincarnation, and I actually had a conversation with somebody like this, and I says, "What happens if I don't want to come back?" And he says, "But you won't remember. You won't remember. When you die, you cross. You get to see your relatives again, which I find strange because there's reincarnation, but I think it's a bit of them that's been left there for when it's your time. And obviously, you plan everything. So all of us that's sitting down now, even some of the people in the chat, we might actually know each other from a previous life, which I find
Exactly.
so interesting.
Yes.
And how
Mhm.
did the extraterrestrials? Obviously, I know with the extraterrestrials are millions of years old. Or some of them are billions of years old. Is there technology that advanced that they can actually see into the spirit realms?
Yeah, they are actually far more advanced and civilized than us. They have been watching us over the years throughout our past,
Mm-hmm.
like the destructions of Sodom and Gomorrah, and parting the sea for
Yes.
Moses and Jesus. So they were actually guiding us and mentoring us throughout history in the past. And they do have advanced technologies, and actually they have a lot of psychic abilities to be able to take the
Mm-hmm.
author Michel Desmarquet to his past lives, and also on different occasion they took him to the Akashic record. So Michel Desmarquet, the author, was able to
Yeah.
witness what happened in the
Mm-hmm.
past 14,500 years ago, when the entire continent of Lemuria in the Pacific Ocean
Wow.
sunk into the ocean overnight because of an earthquake. So he witnessed the whole event. So this book has a lot of very specific details that are so fascinating, and this is the best book I ever read.
It's fascinating what you say about that continent because it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder, could that happen again to our civilization?
Well, they certainly give us a lot of warnings through this book. They
Mm-hmm.
say that natural disasters have their courses to run, but the main focus for us should be focusing on spiritual development. not the
Yes.
materialistic aspects of our lives. And actually, they pointed out that the real dangers on Earth right now, number one, is money. Number two, politicians. Number three, journalists and drugs. Number four, religions. So those are the real dangers on Earth that we should all be aware of, and also change our actions so that we can change the course of the future, so that we can have a better future.
Yeah, I agree
Definitely.
100%. Yeah.
So, going through the list for people who may be wondering what is the logic behind those 4 items on the list that these ETs are trying to warn us about?
Well, they say that the reason for us to be on Earth and to be reincarnated on Earth is to learn basic lessons in life. And we should focus on the spiritual development. And to be spiritual, that means to follow the teachings of Christ and other spiritual masters. And if we focus too much on money, which is happening right now, if you look at the then things are going to go downward spiral. If you look at the things that are happening right now, like the big pharmaceutical companies, they know the ways to, for example, cure diabetes. They just don't do that because they want people to rely on the drugs so that they can profit from them.
Yeah.
And there are ways to cure cancer, but they don't disclose the information. They still encourage people to take drugs or chemotherapies so that they can make a lot of money. Same thing for the energy industry. There are clean energy technologies that were discovered and invented. For example, by Stanley Meyer, who invented the car that ran on water. He could split in the
That's
oxygen
right.
hydrogen
Yeah.
atoms, and there are also like implications in the education industry, in the media, and things like that. So everything is actually like revolved around money in order to profit the industries, the big
Yes.
corporations. So that's the number one danger on Earth. Number two, politicians. I think I don't need to elaborate on that. All the politicians, most of the politicians,
Yeah.
they always
Yeah.
focus
I agree
on
there. Yeah.
fame, power, and re-election, and they just make false promises, empty promises, and they don't act on that. And a lot of the kind and good-hearted politicians are kind of voted down by other means, and they sometimes get assassinated, and they don't have
Yes.
second terms, and things like that. And number three is the journalists and drugs. So journalists, people say, like in the book, the ET say that the journalists on Earth, they focus too much on the sensational news. So they report a lot of the disasters and also the crimes. And when people who read the news reports on crimes, they tend to want to imitate the criminal acts. So that's kind of like
Yeah.
a bad way to influence the psyche of the people. So instead, people should focus on the more positive news and report on the good deeds and compassionate deeds of the people. There's actually a very good media in the U.S. called the Good News Network. People can just do a search and find that website. They report on a lot of
There's
inspiring.
actually somebody in the
Yes.
There's actually someone in the chat just said that. What about the good news? It's in the chat there.
Yes.
I will say this. I will say this. Yeah, the journalism now and what's going on in the world. Don't believe what you see, because a lot of it's just like propaganda, and it is to help the people that's in power stay in power. And it's true what you say, and it's true what you say about money. Let's just face it: the governments of the world just print money. Look at the US government; they just print as much money as they want.
Yeah.
And people don't. Yeah.
And if you, I have a financial background. My major was economics and financial analysis. And I used to think that if I were able to play the stock market, the financial markets, I would be able to earn a lot of money. But over the years, I've realized that the financial world, financial system doesn't work that way. There's a hierarchy structure. in which the International Bank of Settlements and is the top of the structure, and people can just print money. I mean, the shareholders of the major central banks, they can just print money, and then no matter how great investor you are, you wouldn't be able to be as wealthy as them because they control the system. So I kind of pity Warren Buffett or Ray Dalio because they don't see this. They don't seem to see this. They are believed among the public, among the people that are great investors. But compared to the shareholders of the central banks, they're just nothing. They're just like very very kind of minimum, like nothing, like very very basic people. So that's the financial markets. But people can search on the Good News Network to learn about that company that report on good news. And the
I'll
other
look
yeah,
at that up tonight.
yeah, and the other danger is drugs. By drugs, the author meant hallucinogenic drugs. So I know a lot of people in the spiritual communities, they want to try psychedelic drugs to experience the spiritual kind of realm. But actually, according to the ETs, that's artificial. That actually damages the astral body of a person. So because people should experience spiritual realms naturally, but not artificially using psychedelic drugs. And actually, I kind of verified this information by having aura readers, people who can see auras or human energy fields, to take a look at the people who use drugs. And the result was that they see ugly auras.
It's interesting. It's interesting you say that. It's interesting you say that because I've noticed, and I've got friends that can see auras, and it was weird because a couple of days ago I was having this exact conversation with them. They were actually talking about normal people have amazing purple and greens and red auras run about them, whereas you get these people that are into their psychedelic stuff, they're into their acid and stuff like that, they think they can talk to the ancients and stuff like that, but they don't have any auras run about them. It's as if it's done something to them. Yeah. I find that interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always kind of want to look for proof, and it's just that people need to have the knowledge to know this. So it's kind of another proof is that people who use marijuana or psychedelics, they tend to age at a much faster pace. So they
I've noticed that.
Yeah, it's a side effect.
I have noticed that. I've noticed that bit of side effect. I mean, it's something that I suppose only time can stop is people using these things. It's I don't know what the human race will be like in even 5 years, 10 years from now, because the way the world's going, you just need to look at the mainstream media, which although it is fake, and the world's falling apart. I mean, there's wars, there's rumors of wars, there's killing on a mass scale. I mean, the ETs must sit back and they must think, are we failing these people? Because I know they're trying to help, but it must be difficult for them.
Yeah. So this is why they're stepping in right now, just to have Michel de Marquet, the author, to go to their planet and to write a book to warn us. And they are kind of warning us that if we don't change the course of actions, how we live, then there are going to be catastrophes happening in the future. So in this sense, it's a prophecy. But the future really depends on our actions. We can change the course of the actions so that the future can become better and brighter. In that, it meant that while the past is fixed, I mean, we can go back to the past, but the future is changeable depending on our collective consciousness.
Absolutely. So there was probably a few people wondering, what is it that drew you to Michel de Marquet, and how did this book come into your attention?
Yeah. Since I was young, I was very curious about everything. Like in China back then, the media was fairly open to this kind of UFOs and ETs information. So they always kind of report what happened outside of China. So there was one article saying that a physicist was taken by the ETs to their spacecraft, and the physicist was informed that even though Einstein laid the foundations to modern physics, but he made a small mistake, so that we now believe that we cannot travel faster than the speed of light. And then I thought that if that's the case, then we can just learn from the ETs. It's like cutting the corners, getting the shortcut. We can progress at a much faster pace if we can just absorb the knowledge and the assistance and from the ETs. So in my subconscious mind, I was always looking for books and articles written by ET contactees. So after I came to the US, I was intentionally looking for such books. And I read a lot of them already before I read the book Thiaoouba Prophecy or Jehovah Prophecy. And then one day I was searching on the internet on Amazon. I found this book, Abduction to the Ninth Planet. And then I checked it out. And then I couldn't put the book down because it contains so much specific information that I was able to verify and validate. And there are so many facts that I was able to really kind of do additional research and to validate the claims. Remember, I work with a lot of lawyers and doctors, and I have to see the proof and the foundations of the claims. And this book provides everything that's needed to kind of validate the information kind of written by the author. So this is why I'm so fascinated by the book, and I actually sought out and visited the author because in the postscript it says there are more incredible things that the author was not allowed to write in the book because we were far from understanding them. I was extremely curious, and I didn't believe that I was far from understanding them. I thought I was able to understand it, so I tracked the author down, and I couldn't find exactly where he was located, but there was a tourist, a traveler, who took a photo of his bungalow, and I printed a picture and I flew to the island where the tourist saw him, and I showed that picture to the local taxi driver, and the taxi driver took me to where he lived.
Interesting.
It's very interesting, isn't it? I mean, it's just my mind's kind of blown now. I just can't wait to buy this book. I want to go and get this book because there's so many questions I have. I'll let you go to Dakota because I know that you've got more questions.
So I've listened to a couple other interviews you've done with this. I've heard that the author's experience with this actually caused a little bit of turmoil in his personal life, especially with his wife not believing that he was abducted by aliens. Can you tell a little bit more about that?
Yes. He was missing. He disappeared for 10 days or so. And then when he came back, he slept for quite a while. And after he woke up, he told what happened to him. And his son believed that everything happened to him, but his wife didn't believe him at all and thinking that he was having an affair with another woman. Remember, back then, it was in the late 80s. So it's kind of and then he had a lot of emotional turmoil, and he had different personal issues, and one person suggested him to change, and it actually caused his marriage. He divorced his wife, and the person suggested him to go to a different environment, change the location, and this is when he went to Vietnam on Phu Quoc Island and lived there for the rest of his life and married a local woman. So this is what happened to him. Yeah.
No, go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to. I find that. I mean, the early 80s was. I'm from the 80s. I was born in 1981. I remember Dakota here is a lot younger than me. I mean, But it's as fascinating. I was wondering, could I jump to a subject? I was wondering if I could jump to ask about Sodom and Gomorrah, because obviously the Bible says it was destroyed because they were heathens and all that kind of stuff. Why was Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed?
Well, in order to know the reason, we have to look at the Jewish texts, the scriptures of the
Right.
Hebrews, not the Christian text, because Christian text only talks about sodomy, which is only a small reason. The main reason is that the people in the two cities, Sodom and Gomorrah, were so evil that they punished the compassionate and loving people. For example, like in the Jewish text, there's it describes like a girl who was very compassionate, helping the beggars by giving the beggar like some coins and some money and some food. But then the girl was tortured to death because she helped the beggar. And then there were other deeds done by the Sodom and Gomorrah, and they were just so evil, and so they have to do something about it, and so this is why they destroyed the two cities. I'll give you an analogy. When you have kind of a malignant tumor on your skin, or maybe on part of your
Cut
body,
it out. Yeah.
that are going to spread, you have to take them out. So similarly, the people in the two cities were kind of affecting people who were in contact with them, so they had to be taken out.
Yeah, it's fascinating that. I mean, it's true what you say. It's if you've got a tumor growing in your arm, it's better just to have it cut out, and then it doesn't spread to like the neighbouring cities and such. Dakota?
So, out of curiosity, does the author go into why certain people seem to be selected when it comes to where they have more contact with ETs, why they seem to have more spiritual experiences than others? Because you would think if more and more people were to have these experiences, we would be able to talk about it more openly and maybe progress several times further. But why does it seem like only certain people are selected?
Well, people on Earth have different number of past lives. For example, Michel Mackay, before he went on the trip, he had 80 past lives already. So he was considered like an old soul. And he had this kind of accumulation of past lives and experiences from before, spiritual lessons from before. And some people, like, they're just younger souls. They don't have as many past lives as the author did. And there are also different levels of planets or different categories of planets in the universe. For example, Earth is a category 1 planet, and Thiaoouba, Jehovah is a category 9 planet. So we are just like elementary school students learning the basics. They're just like college professors, kind of guiding us, giving us basic principles of life. And above that, that will be the source, the creator of the universe. So we are gradually learning. So a person, after accumulating sufficient like spiritual lessons, he or she might progress and live on category 3 planet. Michel Mackay actually lived on category 7 planet before. So he actually had this kind of spiritual attainment already. But for some reason, he decided to come back to a category 1 planet, Earth, and to kind of, I think this is one of the reasons that he was chosen.
Yeah. That's fascinating about how we are kind of like kindergarten if you really think about it. I mean, there'll be planets out there that are level 9 and higher, but it makes you wonder. The aliens, the extraterrestrials will be looking at us and they're thinking, "Yous are just children. Yous are children. We are so older and so much older than you are." And I find that interesting because you've heard stories about how government bases have had their nuclear weapons turned off. And obviously they can do that because they've got the technology. I always find that interesting. There's all this fear in the media the now where, oh, Russia's going to use nuclear weapons. It's got to be the end of the world. I don't think they would allow that to happen. I think they would turn them off. I really do. What's your opinion?
Yes, they have turned the nuclear weapons off many times in the past, and actually, but on the other hand, when a child plays fire, and then the parents give warnings to the child, then there are just so many times that the warnings can be given, and
Yes.
so it's up to the child to determine whether to continue playing fire or not. So it's up to us to kind of decide what kind of future to have.
It's very true. I mean, you were talking about Atlantis. What happened to Atlantis exactly? Why did it? What actually happened with Atlantis? Does it still exist? What I mean is, I've heard a lot of stories like the Pacific. Under the Pacific, there's meant to be like alien races living there. Do they still exist?
Well, the book talks about Atlantis, but it doesn't really go into detail. It talks at length about Lemuria, which is the continent that existed
Yes.
in the Pacific Ocean. Yes, indeed, there were ET people on the continent of Lemuria, and they came to the continent about 250,000 years ago from the planet Arimo X3. And because they encountered the Chinese people who were living on the northwestern corner of the continent, they retreated back to the far side of the moon and built ET bases as transfer stations so that they can migrate their peoples face by face. They did that because they had a overpopulation issue on their planet Arimo X3. So as they kind of step by step migrating their people, they established a very successful and advanced civilization on Lemuria, and they built a pyramid that's 3 times as large as the Great Pyramid of Egypt. They had a lot of knowledge using the technologies I just mentioned, the anti-gravitational technologies and ultrasonic vibrator systems. They also use nuclear power to power light bulbs. And they have a lot of knowledge, and they colonized a lot of parts of the rest of the world, including Atlantis, where the Caucasians landed. The
Yes.
and yeah, so this is the story in the book. Yeah.
I find that fascinating. To think thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. I know with China is one of the oldest civilizations in the world, because there's things in China that's been hidden that's getting uncovered to this day. Strange buildings, strange artifacts that have been found in China that they just cannot explain. I've seen it on like documentaries and stuff, and it makes you wonder. Somewhere in the Pacific right now, there's a pyramid under the sea. What's left of a pyramid under the sea, and an ancient civilization that once ruled the earth, and now it's gone. It's sad, but in a way, I suppose it's progress, isn't it? I mean, it's that's nature. It happens.
Yeah, there are some archaeological findings of kind of interesting stone structures in the Pacific Rim and undersea, very deep under the sea. And actually, the Chinese were not the only ancient civilizations on Earth. There are also the black people, who came with the Chinese, the yellows, from a different planet called Bacratini, 1.35 million years ago. But the civilization didn't continue because of a natural disaster that happened about 1.3 million years ago, when an asteroid hit Earth and split into 3 parts after it got into the atmosphere. So one part landed on the what's now today's Red Sea area, and the other part kind of struck East Timor area, and the third, the smallest part, hit the Galapagos Islands. So the Galapagos Islands, if people now visit there, it's people can see that is the remnants of a asteroid hitting there. Yeah.
It's quite actually that's so weird, that, because I was actually watching program about that, and they were talking about the rock in the Galapagos Islands, the rock, and it's all got fissures all the way through it. And they were actually talking about at one point there must have been something that caused a shockwave to fracture all the rock in the islands. That's really interesting. That is.
Yes.
Go.
And also, if you look at the Easter Island and Hawaii Islands, I mean, Easter Island used to be part of the continent Lemuria, and people who built the moas, the statues on Easter Island, were the people from Arima X3 who had the advanced civilization and technologies to carve the huge stone structures. And also Hawaiian Islands used to be part of the Lemuria as well. And I think if people read the book by James Churchward that explains in more details about the history of the Lemurian civilization.
Yeah, it's
That is interesting. So you mentioned before that the Earth has gone through at least 2 great resets in its history. Is it possible that with everything that's going on today, if we don't essentially get our act together, we could potentially face another one?
Yes, exactly. So this is why I've been putting so much time and attention to spread the messages of the book. And I'm a certified code interpreter and a Chinese translator. I can just be just going to my professional world and make a lot of money and just to enjoy my life. But I'm spending a lot of time doing this without pay, without compensation, because I think, this is my personal belief, our future is at stake. It's not just the future of the Chinese, not just the future of the British or the Americans. It's the future of the entire mankind. It's all races together, the Jewish, the blacks and the yellows, the Caucasians. I mean, Polynesians, and everyone is connected. Everyone is created by God, the great ether, the source. And we are just one family. There shouldn't be conflicts because we are just brothers or sisters. And our future is at stake. We have to get something done together.
Absolutely.
I'm sitting here thinking that I wish the world was like that, because you just need to turn on the TV or pick up a paper to see that the fact that everybody is trying to kill everybody, and we need to stop it. We need to actually try and overcome the hatred in this world. Can you imagine this? Can you imagine what we could become if we all just put everything aside, especially a religion, and we could be in the stars within 100 years. We could be another civilization out there looking for other planets, helping other planets.
And people need to realize exactly, and people need to realize what's really going on in the world behind the scenes. And over the years, I've been in touch with people who provided kind of insider information, and I was so fortunate to be in touch with them. And people need to realize that, for example, in the U.S., people see Republicans fighting against Democrats, but people don't see that they're actually the same group of people pulling the strings behind the scenes. And there's a group of people on the top of everything, the financiers, people doing everything behind the major corporations. Some of them are also members of the secret societies. I don't think it's a coincidence that I was able to translate a different book. This book, 334 Lies, from German into English. And this is actually a book written by the highest degree chair of a secret society that was founded in Germany. And it talks about how he became the chair of the organization from a young German student, and it reveals the secrets of the members of the secret societies, and also tells that a lot of the conflicts in the world are actually created by them or by others. They're not really the conflicts of the people, but politicians or special interest groups who really want to profit from the conflicts. So, but This book and also the book Thiaoouba Prophecy give a solution that the power of the people is not to be underestimated. So it really up to our collective actions, concerted actions, and then we can really act together to really revolve against the tyrannies in the world. And then
Yeah.
but it really takes knowledge, courage, and collective actions.
It does take courage. I mean, if we all just tried for once, if we all just tried for once, we could all rise up and we could make a change. We could make a change, and I think the ETs that's watching this, I think that's what they want us to do. They want us to change. We want us to all work together and stop this fighting. I think that when the day comes when we all start working together and we start helping each other and all the hatred settles down, I do think they'll come down. I think they'll come down, they'll land, they'll come, they'll speak to us. I think that's what they're waiting on. I definitely think that's what they're waiting on. I mean, it's true what you say about like the Catholic Church and stuff like that. At all churches, I think the Catholic Church knows the truth about Jesus. But if they let that out, their system will collapse. It will completely collapse overnight. And it's the same with other religions out there. It's the world is delicate state. The world is in a delicate state now, but we need to work together. Because if we don't, they'll probably end up resetting us again, and we're going to have to work all the way back up again with technology. And I think it could be done if we all just worked together for once. We just tried. We really could. Dakota?
No, absolutely. I mean, right now we're going to say, regardless of the situation, and I imagine you've probably seen more than plenty of instances of this working in the courtroom. The corrupt people, the number one thing they fear is when the truth gets out, when people actually start coming together to try to course correct and realize, hey, this isn't right. We need to be doing better. And it's just honestly, it's just fascinating when you really see how far deep it really goes. But in regards to say like David Grush's testimonies within Congress, are you how do I put this? Is it a shock to you that it seems like there's an active effort to try to suppress the whistleblowers that have been coming out, especially as of late?
Well, it's certainly not a surprise to me because I've known this for a fact many years ago, and but I think the most important thing is that people need to realize that we can do things that they're afraid of. For example, a major strike, and everyone stops working. And if you think about it, it's a major corporations, military industrial complex that are really kind of preventing the knowledge from coming out or the truth from coming out. But if people act together using nonviolent resistance, we can really kind of cause them to really rethink and to conform to our kind of demands and to really cave into our demands because they rely on our slave labor to profit themselves. If we stop working for them, we lose very little, but they would lose humongously, million times more than us. Because the poor people, I mean, we have little to lose, we have nothing to lose, but they will lose everything. So this is the way to think about it. Yeah.
And it's also paying taxes. I mean, you think of the money that I know here in Scotland, we've got ridiculous taxes on our vehicles, ridiculous taxes on the most stupidest things that should be free, especially in the United Kingdom. You know, the UK is like tax. It's the country's built on tax. I mean, I think I agree with you 100%. You got to be non-violent and just stand up and say enough's enough. We need to change this world before it's too late. It's got to be getting there. I mean, it's like the wars that's going on now in the Middle East and what's going on in Europe. A lot of people don't realize how that's all connected. You think of the companies out there that are making trillions of dollars right now, trillions, on weapons of mass destruction. And they're all in that. Russia's in that. Everybody's in that. But you look at it from a different angle and you can see how it's all connected. It's money. It's like you say, it's money. We need to really get rid of money. Like a kind of Star Trek society, we really need to get rid of money.
Yeah. And back to David Grush, and he was disclosing a lot of interesting information of crashed UFOs or UAPs. But I would kind of encourage people to focus more on this book, Thiaoouba Prophecy, because this is the ETs that their UFOs or UAPs didn't crash. So they have more far superior technologies. So we should learn from the best, from the ones whose UFOs will never crash, not from the ETs that UFOs crashed.
Yep.
I always find that interesting. A lot of UFOs out there crashed, whereas there's ancient races out there must think, my God, I don't want to buy one of those UFOs.
No, absolutely. I mean, we're all putting all these focuses just because we realize, yes, these may be fancier equipment than we have had at the time, but like you said, they crashed. Why would you want to have something that clearly doesn't work very well?
It's like Dr. Stephen Greer says. It's like a lot of the UFOs have been brought down by radar. I mean, radar's been out since what, 1940s, and the radar's brought a lot of the UFOs down. So it makes you wonder. These other extraterrestrials, it makes you wonder, and I do think this too. It makes me wonder: did they deliberately let them have the technology? Did they deliberately let their ships crash? And then it makes me wonder if there's been races out there that are no the nicest, and they've been working with the governments, and they've maybe thought, oh, there's one of our ships accidentally crashed. Just keep it. Have some fun with it. It makes you wonder if the ETs out there deliberately let us have that technology for deals.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And we do have technologies from the ETs whose UFOs crashed. And I know that Michel de Marquet, the author of this book, actually spoke specifically about the Greys, who the U.S. government had been working with. And Michel de Marquet says that the Greys also come from a Category 1 planet, the same level as Earth.
Yeah.
So they come to us because they want to observe us. And they did put implants on some of the people on Earth just to monitor us, because they have been losing their immune system. And we have been losing our immune system since 1948. So they want to see how we respond to the same situation, so they can learn from us. And definitely there's no danger from the implants, because the Thiaoubans of this book have been monitoring the activities of the Greys. So I think we should learn from the best. We shouldn't learn from our peers. So this is my philosophy.
One day I hope, maybe when I reincarnate for the 5 millionth time, I don't know, but maybe one day I can look at the Earth and it will be like a level 6 or a level 7 society, where we're actually helping other worlds that used to be like us. I really do hope that happens one day.
Yeah, me too. And we progress spiritually, and we can elevate ourselves so that we can reincarnate to a higher category of planet.
I was wondering one question, and I know you mentioned it tonight because we don't have long left of the show, but what can you tell us? And it's a subject that I know that I've got friends that's watching right now that would like to know, because they find this place fascinating. The Bermuda Triangle. I had to ask, what's your opinion?
Yeah, Bermuda Triangle is just a natural phenomenon. It's a entry
Hmm.
point or a portal, or in other words, like a warp into a parallel universe.
Yeah.
So it's just one of the warps on Earth. There are other points, other portals too, but this is the most well-known
Hmm.
one. So it's just like a ribbon, like floating in the atmosphere on Earth. So planes, ships, or people who are nearby get sucked into this kind of parallel universe. And once you're inside, time stops and you don't feel hunger or pain. And actually, Michel de Marquet describes what it is inside of a parallel universe because he went inside. He was led by the ETs to use it. I mean, to go inside to take a look. And this actually coincides with the research done by David Paulides, who reported many people missing when they hiked in the national parks in the U.S.
Hmm.
So people
Hmm.
just vanished very in strange circumstances, and I
Hmm.
think this book, Thiaoouba Prophecy, gives a very plausible and interesting and logical explanation of the Bermuda Triangle and the portals on Earth.
I find it fascinating. I really do, because obviously you've got the Devil's Triangle too. Is that not meant to be like a part of Japan? It goes with Mount Fuji, because obviously you've got the suicide forest there. But Mount Fuji itself's got weird vibes round about it, the forest round about it, and it makes all these locations around the world, like you say, like David Paulides in the national parks, which is I find that fascinating. The stories out there where people have been like, there's been a group, there's been like 5 people in front of them and 5 people behind them, and the person in the middle just disappears and they don't know where they went.
Yes,
Never, never to this day, never to be found.
and David Paulides now thinks that there's a UFO connection. Yes, there's a UFO
Mm,
connection because the ETs, like this book, um, use the warps or portals as a way to come to Earth, so that people will not be able to see them very clearly because they use that as a hiding place. Michel de Marquet
mhm.
was taken away by the way of parallel universe because they didn't want his neighbors to see them. So they used that as an entry point to
Yeah,
Earth. Yes.
Hmm.
I find it fascinating. I actually, I've been fascinated by how people can just disappear one day. I know national parks are big, but there's so many stories out there. I was actually listening to David Paulides. It was on Coast to Coast AM actually, and he was telling a story about how there was this family and they were walking through this rock gorge. There was no way out of it, and there was like 7 of them in front, and there was like 6 behind, and there was one person in the middle. And they got to the end, and he was gone. He just disappeared, and still
Hmm.
to this day, that person's not been found. So it makes you wonder where is he? He's just somewhere else, you know. So Dakota, would you anything else, man?
So, with the last couple of minutes we have of the show, in regards to everything you have researched, what is a point you hope the audience will take home in regards to everything that's going on in your research, and just something you hope that sticks with them?
I would hope that the audience can really read the book because it's
Yeah,
a book that contains vast amount of knowledge. And well, take home point is that we are all connected to God through our astral body, our higher self. So when you encounter challenges, look inside for answers and not to
yeah,
follow a specific religion or organized religion or a politician, because the kingdom of God is within you. It's said in the
yes,
Bible, the kingdom of God is within you. So not to follow the media, but look inside for answers. How to do that? You can meditate, you can pray, or you can just have a good night of sleep. Because in dreams, you can always connect to your higher self. When the solutions are good for your spiritual development, they will be provided to you. And don't worry, everything is provided to you. And and I think the challenges that we all face in our lifetime are valuable lessons that we need to learn and to navigate so that we can grow and to accumulate spiritual lessons.
I agree 100%. Yeah, I agree 100%. We're here to learn. We're here to learn for the next life, and then so on and so on until one day we're beings and we all meet up. I definitely think that we're definitely here for a reason. And I would just like to say, Samuel, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been a fantastic show tonight. And it's been absolutely amazing. It really has been absolutely amazing. I mean, there's so many questions out there. And I'm going to say this now, I'm going to buy that book. I'm definitely going to buy that book tonight. I'm going to order it. Everybody in the chat, I suggest you buy that book. Dakota, would you like to say anything, my friend?
No, I just want to thank you again, Samuel, for reaching out. This has definitely been an interesting interview, and there's never enough time to talk about this type of stuff.
Great. Thank you. And I hope everyone enjoys the books.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Everybody
you.
in the chat, thank you for coming tonight. And please buy your book. And I'm going to buy that book because I think it's going to be a fascinating read, guys. Catch you all soon and take care.
Definitely. Much love. Take care. We'll see you next time. Well, we're back for another one.
We have. Can I see when I heard that there when it makes you hairless? I was going to reach out and grab my wig and put it on.
Oh, ha ha!
That's something we should maybe offer, like a hair treatment, like a hair treatment plan through Bald and Bonkers, because it might make our guests and viewers lose hair. You know,
let's not do that. There's already enough people getting sued because of the health products they're putting out.
It would amaze you. I mean, I know a story. See, I had a grandfather. Obviously, everybody's got a grandfather, but except for you, as you were growing on the moon somewhere, weren't you? But anyway, you came out yesterday to stop his baldness, but it didn't work. I think it was just a ploy so as he could keep the bottle in his truck. He was a coal lorry driver, and he used to rub rum onto his head.
Rum?
Yeah. He used to keep a wee bottle of rum, and he used to take it out, and he used to rub a wee bit on his head. Didn't take fun. Honestly, that's what he did. This is back in the early 60s. I think it was just an excuse so he could get away with carrying a bottle of rum about with him.
Yeah. I don't know what to say to that, really.
Well, I suppose it keeps away the midges. It keeps away the flies and all that kind of stuff. Because you don't have midges out there, and you care what I'm talking about for you Americans.
Yes, we have midges. What do we call them? Like chi-chis.
No, I'm not talking about.
Not midgets.
No midgets, Drew. I'm talking about your Grandpa Bell. I'm talking about how he used to actually rub rum into his hair. I can mind his wife telling me that. It didn't work. He didn't use it for long.
Well, maybe he didn't use it enough. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe
You
maybe he
never
didn't use it
fucking
enough.
know.
No,
You never
we
fucking know anymore. I mean, fuck those, like those Prime energy drinks. You know, people are freaking out because they realize that there's fucking chemicals that from
Aye.
raincoats in them.
No, did you see? It's Forever Chemicals. See that Forever Chemicals.
Mhm.
One bottle of Prime, the new Prime that's out. One bottle, and we don't want sued, by the way. So this is no advice. Just take it for somebody else. One bottle of Prime, right, contains 3,000 times the chemicals, right, in it that you get in a lifetime. So it's 3,000 lifetimes of chemicals in one bottle.
Well, I'm hoping that Mike Tyson pummels his face in.
I mean, that's horrendous. I mean, I see
know, but
the FDA and all that are investigating it and stuff.
Well, the FDA really needs to step up their fucking game, because you could probably associate 90% of modern health issues within the world, especially here in the U.S., because people are trying to cut corners, make cheap food products, but by making food-like product, like how there's fucking baby food that was supposed to be cinnamon flavor. The cinnamon was fucking lead.
No, did you see the Nestle again? This is no health advice,
Fucking
and it's
Nestle.
nothing to do with Bald and Bonkers. It's to do with the mainstream media. If you want,
Allegedly,
to
that the key word is allegedly for this type of stuff.
Allegedly, that see how in the United States and in the UK and all the kind of the countries, the countries that don't have like poverty and stuff like that, but they have poverty. The bottled milk is like pure powdered milk. But see, when it comes to India, and Pakistan and bits of regions of China and Russia and stuff like that, 80% is sugar.
Oh yeah. And you also got to take into consideration Nestle. Now, on the surface, Nestle tends to donate baby formulas to like their countries, several African countries that don't necessarily have access to clean water.
No.
In order to mix the shit.
No.
So several babies are ended up dead because they're drinking contaminated water supply in their formula. Yeah. To which Nestle still profits because they're trying to buy out all these bad water places, Flint, Michigan, and basically just trying to monopolize on a basic human right and need.
For my brother in the chat, what's wrong with supplying sugar? Well, for a start, sugar in baby formula is not a very good thing to have.
No.
And baby formula, you're meant to have like minerals and vitamin D and all these kind of other things to help a baby grow. No, get them addicted to sugary products so as they can start buying Kinder eggs and things made by Nestle.
But if you actually just look at all the shit Nestle actually owns, man.
They own Cadbury's chocolate. They own Cadbury's chocolate now.
Yeah, I
Kraft. They own Kraft too.
Yep.
They own a lot of stuff now. I mean, even a lot of the drinks industry's owned.
I mean, hell, since we had our chat with Samuel Chung yesterday, makes you really kind of think about everything that has been going on. And Drew, it really depends on the type of sugar that's being supplied.
Yes. Yeah.
Different sugars have different properties.
You got to remember, we're talking about a baby that's like a week old here. It's not as if they've got to be doing the London Marathon, you know?
If we get babies start doing that shit, God.
Well, there's all this genetic research and all this coming on.
Well, there's been some weird stuff going on with kids lately, and it's just, for some reason, there's been several kids, especially since the pandemic, that have actually come out quite advanced for their age.
I mean, it's quite interesting, but I was watching a thing the other night about it and about how they can actually grow humans in pods.
Oh, yeah. That? Do you realize who was one of the biggest supporters behind that?
Bill Gates.
Who? No.
Who are we talking about here?
Worse.
Oh,
one of the biggest people that wanted to invest in those
was
Epstein.
Oh, for God's sake.
Now, granted, those pregnancy pods, they could be helpful for families who struggle with fertility issues for whatever the reason may be. But Epstein was very much interested in those.
See, reportedly, and I'm saying this reportedly, and this may be fiction, but what I've heard is the Chinese have been doing this for a long time now. They've actually been cloning people
Oh yeah,
for a long time, and they're experimenting with like super soldiers.
oh,
So
they've been doing that for
yeah,
at least since the 60s, if I remember correctly.
yeah. They say they're
So yeah, the fucking
programs, yeah,
Chinese beat us to Captain America. What the hell?
see that. See, you and I can this is not allowed to happen in certain parts of the United States and stuff, but I bet you that they're doing it. Right now, there's a lab somewhere deep under a mountain somewhere, and they're doing it.
Well, it's not really surprising. One of the major obstacles with cloning, especially since, well, you're in Scotland, Dolly the sheep. The problem
Dolly
is,
sheep died. That she's gone now. She's away to the sheep heaven.
well, yeah, obviously. But the thing is, when it comes to the clones, those clones are essentially born from at the age whenever those cell samples were collected because of the telomeres on the end of DNA strands. That's one of the biggest issues with it right now. Plus, I think, what was it, like 3 or 4 of Dolly's clones had the exact same medical issues as her?
Yes.
Had like arthritis?
There's actually talk out there that there is drugs out there that can prolong life to into your hundreds to keep you young.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't use it. I mean, I was thinking about this, that I was a conspiracy theorist was talking about it on YouTube, and they're all the elites and that. But if it's really all the elites, you look at all the elites that's died lately, right? Why did they not get this treatment?
Because their supplies run low?
But what do you mean the supplies are no? What is there somebody out there trying to stop them? Like,
there's a lot of shit going on behind the scenes that people don't realize.
It's quite interesting.
But think about it. Think about it. We have all these conspiracies, allegedly YouTube, allegedly God, getting fucking in trouble with YouTube when you try to do something that promotes suicide awareness and all that because people are so fucking sensitive these days. Anyway, allegedly, well, think about it. You have these major trafficking rings, all this real nasty shit going down that's starting to come to the surface, right? And that's when all of these major elites believed to be major players are dropping.
I've noticed that. There's something odd going on. I've noticed a lot of world leaders, a lot of big people in the world are just dropping like flies lately.
Yeah.
Was it Klaus Schwab? Is Klaus Schwab? No, he's still alive. Who's that other one? The one that was he helped the Nazis against the Jews. He was Jewish. What was his name?
It wasn't Klaus Schwab.
No, it wasn't Klaus Schwab.
It was the Nazis. It was his father.
He was friends with. I'm sure it was. It's this. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was still alive no long ago, and I'm no long ago, which is a couple of months ago, 6 months ago. George Soros. Thank you, John Morris. George Soros. It's really interesting about him. He actually worked with the Nazis. He was a Jew. And you ever seen the Schindler's List, the movie Schindler's List, and you had the Jews that wore a certain patch that helped the Nazis find the other Jews. That's what he did. Yeah, and that's what they say he got a lot of his money for too, because he knew where the gold was hidden.
Yeah. That's very well common practice.
Allegedly.
And people in those extreme circumstances, their very survival is threatened. So it is amazing to see how quick people will turn against their own family, their own neighbors, in the purpose of self-preservation. Did you just hear that?
What?
Right as we were talking about that, it almost sounded like radio static coming through.
I thought I heard like a CB radio crackle.
Yeah.
It was
Either that, or it smell, or it sounds like you're doing cocaine over there.
no, or Drew. I don't know. I'm blaming Drew for this. He doesn't. But he's into that film Convoy. He's into that film Convoy, and it was weird because the day I was watching a clip for Convoy, maybe it's the ghost for Convoy's past. Roger, Big Daddy, or whatever your name is. You know.
Okay, careful how you say that.
There's people that are right into Convoy, like Drew, for instance. He sits for like hours and then just watching it hour and hour again, as if he's like addicted to watching Convoy.
Oh, he's gonna start going off in the chat, isn't he?
He is, but I'll see him tomorrow after the dentist. Got the dentist tomorrow, Drew. So you can.
You going to get drilled, baby, drill?
He's what's that? He said he was going on at me saying that I should brush my teeth and all that kind of stuff. I do brush my teeth.
No, yeah. I got to thinking. I thought it was kind of funny, considering we got to talking about drugs and how it affects people's auras on the show yesterday.
Yeah.
On 420 of all days.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to say this now. Mr. Samuel last night, he was glowing blue. I could see the aura around about him. And I don't know if anybody else could see that. But he did, he was glowing blue.
I don't know. I could see it faintly. I don't know. I kind of just wrote it off as just how the room he was in. But there was definitely something about him. That was an interesting conversation. I really need to get my hand on book. You're thinking now? Fuck you, Drew.
But that, you've got to remember too, that book is very expensive over here. It's about 63 quid in the UK. I was like, holy shit. Son of the Naked Bigfoot! What the fuck is
what the fuck? What in the kind of knockoff Wizard of Oz do you watch?
Right, I'll tell you something, right? Everybody, Pete in the chat here, Son of the Naked Bigfoot, he needs 50 subscribers to go live, right?
We fucking had him there, but YouTube started taking some.
Yeah, YouTube taking some back off you. So everybody, could you please, the 13 people that are watching this, including, can you please go over and subscribe to Son of the Naked Bigfoot? Let's get him to 50 so he can go live for some weird location somewhere.
Here, let's go ahead and take the link for his channel. It's not letting me do it from the main chat in Streamlabs, so I'm having to go in the long way. God damn it!
I'll go to his channel too. View channel. Pete, you're a what do you call it, mod? You want to drop your link, man?
I was like, yeah, it should be a mod. I'll just bring it up on screen. So I'm at a questionable and creepy truck stop in Arizona. Isn't that most of Arizona, though?
There you go. I dropped his link really quickly there.
That's not a Yushi territory. Skinwalkers.
Skinwalkers. They'll be eyeing you up the new, Pete. You'll be sitting there eating your hamburger, and they'll be in the woods and the bushes going, our night snack.
Remember, if they sound far away, they're actually really close.
As long as you've got a good pair of trainers on and to run with, and you've got somebody with you that you can leave behind.
Yeah, be careful on your travels there, Pete. That's all we gotta say.
Be careful, Pete. And don't get eaten by Bigfoot or a skinwalker. Do the skinwalkers eat you? Or did they just like mutilate you?
What the fuck was that on my screen side? Did
What?
You just see that?
I seen a blur behind you.
No, I looked on my screen. It saw it was fading, green and all that.
What's that he put there? Oh, thanks for sharing the link. I'll make sure you're rewarded in the afterlife. Oh man, thank you very much.
It's gonna take the afterlife for us to get our hair back.
Thank you very much. If I can have anything, I want to see Dakota with a full head of hair. It's the least I could do.
I wish my beard would grow in a little better.
You can't grow a beard. You're just a baby. You can't grow a beard like me. See,
mine just comes in fucking patchy as a motherfucker.
You can sit and stroke it wildly. Makes you look
I know,
interesting.
makes it look like you've been stroking something else a little bit too much there. You're
Seeming
so
like Pete's growing a
lonely.
Pete's growing a beard too. What he was saying in Twitter
Mm.
weeks ago. He's thinking he's growing a beard, you know. So anyway, back to the subject we're talking about.
Hey, what the fuck we were
Before we go-
we were on?
We're
Before
talking
you
about
fucked
how
it up?
amazing I was.
Yeah, no. Holographic hair dots.
Holographic. No, what you need is you need Simple Jack. There you go,
Oh
Pete.
God.
I can't put this on right because it's too warm. Right?
I know.
It's too warm. There you go, Pete. I'll tell you something. If I was with you, then the skinwalkers were running in fear.
Oh, Pete.
I've got the sound turned down so I can't hear you guys. Well, it was disturbing. The
Prostitutes.
well, if that's what he's into, let the man have
I'll
some
make sure to
fun.
tell my sister hi.
I mean, holy shit, she's going to kill you for that.
Yeah, which one though?
But there you go, Pete. You need to get yourself one of these wigs. They're 100% pure plastic. They keep the rain off, and they keep the skinwalkers at bay. They'll be like, holy shit, look at that guy there. Stay away from him. He's just got a paranormal hairdo.
Well, the way you had that sitting on your headset right now makes you look like a golden dick.
Oh, dude, why do you have a what's that? What's that? What is that? I can't even.
A tribble on your. Why do you have a tribble on your head? Yes, that was a classic Star Trek reference. Because he thinks he looks good, Pete.
Hey, I'll tell you something. Dude. You're just not you guys out there that are bald. You're just jealous. That's
Not really.
I'm telling you, you should see what I look like with it right on. You know, Simple
You
Jack.
look like a golden tipped dick.
What do you mean? I think I look rather sexy, actually. You ladies out there, prepare yourself.
For the restraining orders, maybe.
It's casting that. It's casting. Dust on it, too. There we go. There you go, you Pete. Don't you worry, Pete. I'm going to leave that to you and my will. So if a skinwalker
You're
eats me,
starting to get fucking. Gotta go down that depressing shit again. God damn.
I'll be fine. I'm going to live to 3 million years old. If you stroke it, does it pop? I don't know.
What the fuck?
Oh,
so much for reflecting on the guests last night and talking about latest weird world events.
It's a fantasy for Pete. I've just left out his fantasy for him. Right, anyway, back to the guest last night. I bet he had never seen a wig like that before. On the 9th planet.
You realize that wasn't him.
I know it was the guy that he was doing it for a French. I know.
Well, no, basically the story was he was having issues with publishers, so Samuel actually tried to help him out.
Aye.
Mm-hmm. Helped him get it to where it was a #1 bestseller in China and Taiwan, which is very difficult to do.
See, it'll help you root out the Klingon spies. Kapla.
More like the spies that would rather start slapping you with strap-ons.
Kapla. What is it? Kapla? Was it the old Klingons? I'm a Star Trek fan, Pete. I'll have you know. I know all the Star Trek things. He isn't. He's not into Star Trek. We don't say the word Star Trek to him because he doesn't believe in that stuff. Anyway.
And who was it that made it to where we could get we can promo Shatner's new movie on the show?
That's fair as you. Well, William Shatner. Can't hear you, just watching your reactions. Anyway, the guest last night was absolutely, I would say he was one of the best guests we've ever had for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, he found us through the video I did with Tony Rodriguez, and apparently they did a couple speaking conventions together. Nah, I'm glad I reached back out to him. That definitely gave you a lot to think about.
Mm-hmm. I liked how he was talking about ancient. What do you call it? What was the land that existed in the Pacific?
Lemuria.
Lemuria. I mean, there has been stuff found in the Pacific, isn't there? I mean, there's been like buildings found under the water, like ancient pyramids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something now. I found it so interesting about how he was talking about Jesus, how there was two Jesuses.
Well, that's actually been a well-known theory that the whole resurrection may have actually been that Jesus had a twin that not a lot of people knew about.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the theories that was out there. Whether or not it's true, we'll have to wait till the day of the time. God.
I just couldn't help myself there. I had to bring that up for Pete. You know, I mean, like, as Dot says in the chat, near Easter Island. Has there ever been like a decent search? I mean, a paid search with all these like billionaires out there to look for this place, to see what is left out there?
There's been quite a few searches trying it out there, but for fuck's sake, man, there's some people that try to say Ireland is the leftovers of Atlantis.
No, it's not.
Speaking of dots. No, that's an actual theory that's out there.
I've heard that, because you've got I've heard that, but
I saw that myself, and I didn't know about that until recently. I'm just like, the fuck?
Where's that? Where's that in the Pacific? I can't remember where it is. It's either in the United States side of the Pacific, or it's so in China side, and there's meant to be like a road that goes out underneath the water, and people have dived it, and it goes for like miles and miles underneath the sea, and they think at one time it was like a highway. I was watching a program. It was Ancient Aliens. I was watching a thing about Ancient Aliens.
Yeah, there's quite a few structures down that way that seem to be a little too neat for natural occurrences.
It's like the one where the divers, they dive these pyramid things under the water, and they try and say that it's natural, but it's made out of big blocks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's. But it would make you wonder what kind of cataclysm would actually cause that.
Major
meteor. I mean, it must be epic. Aye, but major sink into the sea.
Yeah.
Is that like poles flipping? Is that like the poles flipping?
Well, poles flipping, that would cause some electromagnetic anomalies, and there would be huge amounts of UV radiation that would hit the surface of the planet. But the flip would only last a few minutes at most, is what they believe.
I can't help it, guys, in the podcast world. But don't worry, I'm sure
between Chris and Pete,
Pete's message.
No, it's like
stay safe.
It's turning into Pete's private show. God.
But as it's stay safe out there, Pete, and don't get eaten. But listen, it's quite interesting though, because I liked how he talked about how the asteroid broke into 3 pieces.
Oh yeah.
And it makes you, why did it break into 3 pieces? Was it by design to do that?
They break apart no matter what when they're entering the atmosphere. It's very rare for a major chunk to survive landfall.
But what I'm saying is this, right? We had these people, as at Lemuria, it was called, right? We had these people that were highly sophisticated, the anti-gravity vehicles. They had they knew everything, right? So why? And they were meant to be extraterrestrial race, right? So they could obviously fly about and that. Why did they not stop the asteroid?
They couldn't.
So where did they go?
That's where places like Mount Shasta come into play. There are some survivors that are still about. They went underground. They're Telosian.
So that's where they live under the earth, basically.
That's the story.
I mean, if you start going down this road, if you start going down the road to the inner earth and that, do you believe in that kind of stuff? Do you believe that there's another earth?
To some of the extent, like say how you would see in the newer Godzilla movies, just as a pop culture reference,
Yeah,
I
like
wouldn't
cavities.
I wouldn't
Mhm.
necessarily say that it would be that elaborate, but who knows?
It's to think
Some
that
of
I
the thing
found it.
some of the anomalies have been coming up lately within mainstream science, as well as just some of the phenomenon that's been well known about for several years now. You really have to think about it.
There's I've got a new subscriber in there. Who's that?
Mm.
You were broadcast over larger
Okay.
platforms. You are on what, the Spot 11? What's Spot 11?
I don't know.
Must be some network thing or
Johan,
something.
we're actually broadcast out to like 50 plus different channels, man.
Hey, Lawrence,
Lawrence!
you were getting married today, weren't you?
He was
Lawrence
getting
was
married?
Mm-hmm.
I was not aware of this. Congratulations.
Congratulations, and have many years of happy marriage.
Yeah, make sure that the bonds you tied her up with, aren't too tight,
Just Pete in the chat, he'll give you some techniques and tips.
You
But
know,
anyway,
he'll
never mind
send
that.
you a supply of
Mm,
paranormal lube for the honeymoon.
Pink handcuffs and stuff like that. But so under Mount Shasta, some of the relatives or some of the
Not just Mount
survivors.
Shasta. That's one of the major, well-known spots, but it's quite a few of spots around the world. Allegedly, I found this is something that's supposed to be like a map of inner Earth entrances, at least here in the U.S. And if I'm right, and if this map isn't total BS, there could very well be an entrance that's not too far from where I was abducted.
That's interesting. That I mean, I find it fascinating, especially all the underground cities, especially the moon too, because I think there's something. I don't think, and this is my honest opinion with the moon. I don't think the moon is 100% hollow. I do think it was hollowed out at one point. Some of it's hollow, some of it isn't. I think there is a civilization that was there. I don't know if they're still there or not. But there's an interesting question for you in the chat. You can take that one because you know more about this stuff.
Oh yeah, Valiant Thor, very real guy. That wasn't actually his name. That's kind of the miscommunication on the Earthlings' part. But not very active these days. I do believe he's actually retired now.
Wait, is he?
No, it's like on it. Well, some of the luckier ones when it comes to his particular species can be about 900 Earth years.
You get him on the show. Valiant Thor, if you're listening or whatever. What is his real name?
He just goes by Val Thor.
Val Thor.
And he only
Because you
talks
just
to
said
certain
obviously,
people.
come on and talk to us. I think that
He's
would
not
make
on
it
Earth,
interesting.
dude. He's not on Earth.
He could come down. He could come down in the spaceship. We could park it out in
No,
the backyard.
he's retired. He don't want to deal with this bullshit. He wants to be with that good-looking wife of his.
I will say this: I have noticed lately in the world that there's weird stuff going on. Obviously, with wars and rumors of wars and that, but I've noticed that the elites that used to run this world, they're getting thinned out.
They
Have
are.
you noticed that? Let's look at the Queen. I ken the Queen of the UK. She was old, right? She passed away. She was always thought to be like a reptilian or something like that. But look at the King. He's not been seen because he's meant to have cancer. But then look at Kate Middleton. She's
Yeah,
disappeared
for
off the face of the earth.
also alleged with cancer. But you also had to take in consideration that's where a lot of the discussion about the little video that came out about her not too long ago, does show a lot of the markers of it being somewhat computer generated or completely deep faked.
Yep.
As well as some of the family photos that have been coming out that were just a lazy Photoshop job.
Yeah.
All the extra hands and all that. It's like, come on, that is amateur hour. What kind of teenager on Fiverr did you rip off?
I'm going to say this now, right? Everything is not what it seems right now. And it's the same with your president. It's not what it seems right now. I think he's got multiple body doubles out there. Multiple body doubles.
Allegedly, it has been common practice ever, I believe, since Reagan for the president to have body doubles. Main purpose for press interviews and things like that, but as well, they have also been known for alleged assassination attempts. You also got to take into consideration Mr. Biden has shown a lot of signs that he has either had a major stroke or has the onset of dementia.
Mm-hmm.
And why is it that the president is being restricted on speaking out about certain things when
Why is it?
it seems like there's moments of lucidity where he starts to admit that something's up?
Mm-hmm. And why is it today that they were coming out about the UFO disclosure, and now they're backtracking on it?
Oh yeah,
Something is definitely up. Something is good. I think there's a secret war being fought right now behind the scenes,
well there
and
is.
it's a war. I think it's the good against evil right now, and I think the good's winning very slowly, but they're winning.
I wouldn't necessarily call it that black and white, but the side we want to win is winning. That much we can say.
Which that valiant thought is
Uh,
still active under Lake Geneva, was it recruiting children and educating evil within the God-sent light beings. Geneva is the eye of the. I'm mere spiritual stuff, ghosty stuff. This is your kind of field.
oh,
You know?
excuse me.
This is your kind of
Fucking
field, man, when it
allergies.
comes to.
Fucking
you
allergies
need-
tickling the back of my throat. You need to be
Yeah.
careful about what alleged information you go to preach, because not everybody's telling the truth. Everybody's wanting.
Yeah.
There are several individuals out there taking advantage of the fact that the people aren't able to physically validate certain information. So there is a lot of
Yes.
misinformation being allowed to spread about, because one, people are lazy about checking facts, and two, they just count it. The elites have counted on that for quite some time.
Yeah.
Mob mentality, where people don't try to follow the motions of the crowd rather than the self, has been a major player in all of this. So be careful who you trust. I will say in regards to that.
When it comes to space, and when it comes to like the Federation and stuff like that, there's only really two people I follow in that, and that's Elena Denen, well, obviously UT, and Danny. That's it.
Second of all, why would these? And here's one thing I do want to point out. I'm not trying to attack anybody. I'm just wanting to point out something very obvious. Why would these individuals who are under a military obligation give away information about their operations that could be used by the enemy to completely infiltrate and bypass any sort of progress being made? That is something people need to realize. Why would military operatives give out crucial information?
Exactly.
Especially if the operations are still active.
Aye. It's like a secret. It's like a secret spy for the FBI has infiltrated the Russian mafia, and they've brought it out in the news to say that they've infiltrated the Russian mafia, kind of thing. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, that dude's going to be dead within 24 hours, especially when dealing with the Russians.
Aye, the wouldn't do it. I'm very careful now in what I watch. I'm going to say that show that Elena did the other night was absolutely fantastic, what she did the other night. Danny Tay, well done. I watched your show, Tay. But see, it's TikTok. TikTok is really bad for it, man. TikTok. There's people on there saying, "Oh yes, the Greys come to me last night and they told me we must serve them," and everybody's like, "Oh, the Greys are amazing. The Greys are amazing." I'm something like.
That's another thing. A lot of the terms when it comes to like Greys, the Nordics, things like that, those are. The thing is, if you really sit back and think about it, that is such a generalization on our part. There are Greys that are on our side, the ones that work with us. If anything, their personalities can be kind of compared to people on the autistic spectrum. Maybe that's where it originally came from. Who knows? But it's already seeding bias against beings that are supposed to be coming down here within the next couple of years, allegedly. And what's the last major play for one world government? False flag alien invasion.
Yeah.
So if they're already planting the seeds for a potential bias against these ETs.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot. I have noticed that a lot lately. It's like there's people out there, especially on TikTok, and they're saying that the Federation and all that's a myth, and they're actually their enemies, the great ones, and the great ones are saying that don't follow these people and all that. And I'm sitting there watching this, thinking, "Oh my God, you guys are brainwashed. You're brainwashed." But then you look at it, and there's inconsistencies, right? I'm getting quite good at pronouncing stuff, but
Inconsistencies, yes.
inconsistencies. Sorry, I'm Scottish. I can't help it. But what I have noticed is it's as if I've noticed some of them lately are but then they'll go backtrack. I think they're just talking out their arse to make money. They're just making all this bullshit up. They're just
Especially with,
making it up.
I mean, how many different apocalypses was supposed to happen within the last 10 years?
Oh my God.
And every
Oh my
single
God.
time these people pushing these narratives are having to backtrack.
What's that there? Knowledge Within. Please screen share the picture I just sent you on Telegram. Let me go and have a
Oh,
look
what
at
is
it.
that Lewis up to now?
What you sending me, Lewis? What you sending me?
Lewis.
Can I need to phone it? Because I just hang with my phone. I'll need to phone. Where's the old Telegram there? Let me have a wee quick look here, Lewis.
All right. What kind of porn did you send him now, Lewis?
Right, very good, Lewis. Very good. It's I'll
need a
send
look?
that to the. No, it's
Oh.
WD-40, and
Oh,
it's a funny
God.
one.
Are you back on about the WD-40 lube again? God, if y'all
Lewis
actually
loves his
knew how to please a
WD-40.
woman, maybe you wouldn't need to try to
Oh no,
improvise
Lewis is married. Lewis is a married man, but he loves his WD-40. You can get WD-50, but you didn't ken that.
Lewis must be a very funny man. Anyway,
He is. He's an awesome guy. Lewis is
I
awesome.
know.
Lewis.
He knows I'm teasing. I tease with love. I promise.
But look, I'd be very careful what you believe in TikTok, especially TikTok. I mean, there's a guy in there saying he was for the fifth dimension. He was wearing a copper triangle on his head. You seen the guy I'm talking about?
I think
He's
I know who
bald,
you're talking
completely
about.
bald. He's completely.
Yeah,
He was
if
for
it
the
kind
fifth
of looks
dimension.
kind of looks like he's trying to imitate Aleister Crowley a bit.
Aye, and he's for the fifth dimension, and he had a copper triangle on his head, and I was like, I just couldn't stop laughing. I just couldn't stop laughing, and then there's folk on there. There's folk on there that just talk them as utter pish. I mean, utter pish. And it's totally against the Federation and all that. Oh, they're bad, and they're actually here to invade the earth and then slay us all and make them work for us down their mines and stuff like that. And I'm fucking hell. There's so many people out there that just talk shit all the time. But see, that's weird. We talk the truth and we don't get many subscribers, but they talk passion and get loads of subscribers.
Yeah.
It's the same when it comes to Elena. She talks the truth. She talks about what is really going on. But people don't invite her to go on like Ancient Aliens and stuff like that to get her side of the story. See where I'm going with this?
Oh yeah.
And I'm going to say this to now. There's a lot of UFO people out there that I thought were good UFO people, but in actual fact, they're only in it for the money.
Yep, only in it for the money and fame, and it goes to show when they start to make fun of others online.
You ever seen that series called Resident Alien?
Bits and pieces, yeah.
Who's that famous UFOologist that's in it now?
Yeah, Giorgio Tsoukalos.
Yeah, I seen it on there. I was like, for fuck's sake. Okay, I mean, come on.
I mean, it's not uncommon for big names in the UFO field to make like guest appearance on shows like that. Who's that little short, bald one? That old guy UFO chasers. You can watch it for free on like the Roku channel, I believe. But he's done several little cameo appearances on UFO based shows.
I don't know who I can't know who you're talking about, but I kind of mind he's called.
He always kind of talks like this.
All right, I know who you're talking. I know who you're talking
he has kind
about.
of a bobble in his head.
He's got
yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
so the aliens come down.
He's very animated when he speaks. I mean,
there's a lot of UFOlogists out there that I've seen in that Ancient Aliens, but you don't see them anywhere else. And they're good at what they talk about. Okay, I mean, I've seen a few of them on Elena shows, but I do think there's a lot of fakes. As I say, there's a lot of fakes in the paranormal world. There's a lot of fakes in the UFO world. What's this, Dakota?
Just here, I'll read it. When you live in truth, you are free. Valiant Thor is 3. He goes on above the standard because he was sent to release us from the deep state. Have you read the books Stranger at the Pentagon? And I imagine he ran out of character space. But you seem like a decent individual. God, this was almost a couple of years back, but look back on whatever channel you're listening to us through. Look up one of the interviews we've done with Craig Campbell-Bassel. I think you might be interested. He talks a lot about Val Thor and stuff like that. We've had him on the show a couple times. Awesome dude. He's a Hollywood casting director who's real big with MUFON. He's been involved in a lot of projects. I think you might get a kick out of that one. So,
he was also one of the casting directors for June.
The original one.
The original one, which is, I'll tell you something. I'm looking forward to the new June. I've seen the new one, but then I'm looking forward to the new one where he takes out Arrakis and stuff that they say it's meant to be absolutely fantastic. I'm waiting for Netflix to drop that. Yeah.
That's what I keep hearing. Yeah.
And I knew I was right, Mr. Campapasso. I knew I was right. See when we had Mr. Campapasso on, I says to him, see the guy in that film, what do you call it? You see the guy that runs off at the end? And I says, and he went, oh no, he get killed. But he's in the new one. He survived. So watching that by trying I get it was bloody right.
Anyway.
The Book of the 11. Ken, I've actually got that book, but I've not read it. It's on my iPad.
Real's a very interesting topic. I would, we had Dan Willis on who talked a little bit about that, as well as the power generators.
Mm-hmm. Not evil reptilian vile drone, it's evil. Right. So I mean, when see this is what really annoys me. The Pentagon come out and all that about this UFO disclosure, but now they're like tightening it all up again.
Yeah, no, I noticed. What's his name? The dude that runs the Black Vault. He's actually secured through Freedom of Information channels that David Grush apparently he's stood up some of the committees that he was supposed to be meeting with when it comes to disclosures. So there's a lot of weird backtracking going on, man. Something's up.
Does that mean that they're slowly getting assimilated, as one would say?
It's hard to say without getting a little bit closer on the inside, but kind of like Mr. Chong was talking about. Whenever someone who doesn't play in the same game as the elites manages to get through, they're either quickly weeded out or shot down.
Just look at President Kennedy.
Look at what why everybody's wanting to watch Robert Kennedy right now. Make sure he doesn't end up dead.
I mean, I'm going to make a prediction here. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say Trump is probably going to get it back in. Right.
We'll see what happens.
The world is in a total mess. It is in a total mess. But I don't know who could do a better job. Maybe Robert, that Kennedy guy. I hope if he becomes president, good on him, But somebody's needing to stand in and stop these wars. Stop all of them before it's too late.
But that's the problem. So many different companies are so well invested within government contracts. They want these wars to happen because it makes them more money. You have weapons traffickers who also profit off of this because it's cheaper for these companies to just make new guns instead of the militaries to clean up their mess.
Who do you think the biggest weapon, like, say, you ever seen the film Lord of War with Nicolas Cage?
I don't believe I have.
You want to watch that movie, right? It's based on a true story. Who do you think the biggest black market gun supplier is in the world?
The U.S.
Yes, the US. That's what they do.
Oh yeah.
So you think about this sense, the US is supplying probably Russia to fight Ukraine, but they're also supplying Ukraine to fight Russia.
Mm-hmm.
You see where I'm going with this? But at the same time, they're supplying North Korea, right? They're supplying China.
It's
But
very.
China's probably supplying everybody's. This is all connected.
Oh
You
yes,
see
I
this in
remember that
Europe.
movie
Everything,
now.
yeah,
And
everything in
that's
Europe.
starting to hit me.
And this is I'm going to say this very true. This right. Putin is getting classed as the enemy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But is he? Is this no just like a weird way to make money for both sides?
Putin flat out admits that both sides of the fight, ever since the Cold War, have been engaged in war of the propaganda. And
Yeah.
he full on admits that the U.S. is very good about it. About spreading propaganda about who they want to be the enemy.
Exactly. And that's a good segue to talk about Samuel last night and how he told us about good news. I've not had a chance to look it up yet, but don't believe the mainstream media. Don't believe a word that comes out of their mouth.
Exactly.
I've seen stuff and I'm like, that is just fake. It's like all clips for years and years ago that they're just playing over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there could be things happening in the world right now that we don't get told about whatsoever.
Yeah, because it wouldn't generate views. It's all about the views. It's all about the viewers. It's all about the money.
Yeah. And
That's all
it's
it
true
is.
it's true what Samuel said last night. The US just prints their money. Print it out
I
of
know.
nothing. The more money they need, they just print it. They print. That's all they're doing. But eventually it's all going to collapse. It's like a house of cards. It's all going to collapse.
But then the more you have of something, the less valuable it actually is.
Yeah. It's like the old
basic supply and demand.
It's like the ruble. It's like the ruble in Russia. Before Russia collapsed, when Russia collapsed, there was there's an old story goes. I don't know if you ever heard about this story. And food was skyrocketing prices, right? Because Russia was Soviet Union was collapsing, and a woman got a wheelbarrow and filled it with money. Right, you know what I'm talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
And she taken the wheelbarrow money to the food court to get food, and she come back out and all her money was lying, but somebody had stole the wheelbarrow because the wheelbarrow was worth more than the money.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You see where I'm going with this?
And you know, it's even funny. Lewis even brings it up. There's a lot of people that speculate that crypto was essentially invented to try to crash the current economic format. Because let's face it, they say the current world wealth is based upon only about 5 to 10% physical money.
Yeah.
So obviously, technically, we already have digital currency going on right now, as it is. And crypto, allegedly, the main individual behind crypto, allegedly, according to quite a few sources, is Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, I've heard that. And you got to remember, what does the US? How does the US make so much money? And this is where they get it fair, right? They're the superpower, the world's biggest superpower, but not for much longer, because China's growing, and the same with Russia. And they use that to get their money, but it's not just that. It's gold. It's the gold standard too. But America doesn't have much gold left anymore. See Fort Knox, it's empty. Fort Knox is empty, right, guys? This is what people don't realize. A lot of the gold was stored in New York. I can't remember, in the vaults in New York City. Do you know that the vaults are nearly empty? No. And the Chinese have got the biggest seemingly amount of gold in the world, or something like that. But I'm telling you something right now. I bet you because this is all this CBD system they're wanting to bring in the UK and universal credit. They're wanting to bring this universal credit in. It doesn't matter if you've got a job. It doesn't matter anything. You'll get like 1,000 credits a month, right? Into your universal basic income. But I was reading up on it. I was watching a few things about it, and it's quite interesting because see if there's another pandemic, and everything you use is digital, they can restrict you. So if you go outside your town and go to buy something, you'll not be able to buy it. You see where I'm going with this? And it's control. It's like New World Order. It's control.
Fuck,
I think something's coming.
Technically, they can already do that now. People don't realize that banks could easily seize all your assets right now. Just with
put it this way.
the universal credit system, it's just going to make it easier.
We'll put it this way. About a month ago, I went to put gasoline in my car, and I had cash on me. And there was a queue of people, and they're like, "Oh, we can't pay for our fuel because the cash, the PIN thing was done." So I went into the store across the road for it, and they were only accepting cash. The whole village was accepting cash because the digital currency was done. I mean, that watch that I've got, that Apple Watch and all that kind of stuff, you just point it and it goes beep, and you've paid for your stuff, right? I think that's a fantastic thing, right? But is it? Because they could say, right, oh, there's a pandemic, you're not allowed to travel 5 miles from your house. You're not allowed to buy anything. Oh, you're buying too much chocolate. You're buying too many cakes and stuff like that. You're helping pollute. You're not allowed to buy that. You can't buy any more fuel for your car because you're polluting the climate. You've had your monthly allowance. You see where this is going? Control. George Orwell, 1984.
Well, unfortunately, they would have to improve the infrastructure for a lot of states that are west of the Mississippi because, say, like, east of the Mississippi, you have about 80% of the U.S. population. Whereas, say, like, here in Idaho, you have to drive, some places you have to drive, 30, 40 minutes away from where you live just to be able to buy groceries. Because it's simply not there. And, we all got to talking about, electric vehicles and all that. Sure, they may be nice here, but they may be kind of cool here. But the second we get a good snowstorm, they're storage cupboards basically with wheels.
Yeah, they are. And look, I think, and it's Samuel did say this last night. He said we are needing to unite, and the whole world's needing to stand up and say no more to this. We need to change our ways. And I would say don't do it violently. But I was revolution wise, I would do it as peaceful as possible.
Oh, dude. Did you hear about that guy in New York? His body was just barely identified. That set himself on fire.
I heard about it. Never watched it though.
No. Do you see what was his last message to the world before he did it?
No, what?
Start the fucking revolution. Start the fucking revolution before setting himself on fire. He was trying to make himself a martyr to try to bring up a violent revolution. And unfortunately, let's face it, things may get to a point of last resort where violence becomes the only answer because it's the only way to actually get attention. That's why these situations escalate.
We need to stand up soon because if we don't, everything's going to go. It will be like George Orwell. I'm telling you this right now. We've got about maybe, what would you say, Lewis? What would you say in the chat? Because he knows quite a lot of this. I would say 3 years, no even that. You get 3 years, no even that, 2 years before it all comes to an end.
But here's the thing, though. We've said it before, and I'll say it again. It doesn't matter how this unfolds. In order to build the new system, because of how deeply ingrained all of this trouble is, it has to come down in order for something new to be rebuilt. It's gonna come down no matter what. It's just a matter of whether or not we can put aside our petty fucking differences, actually sit down and have conversations with one another, and come together to actually fix this bitch.
Yeah, it's like the knowledge within in the chat says there. Look, we need to take, and this is you take the entire system down. Everything
will.
The financial system, it has to collapse. It needs to collapse. Everything, the governments, everything need to collapse and then restart again. I'm not saying one world government. I'm saying there should be like an order on the earth where like one member for every country is like in it kind of thing, like a Senate kind of thing. You know where I'm going with this.
Here's the thing, though. When you really think about it, say the day comes, ETs go to reveal themselves, because say like according to sources like Elena Denon, we're in a 50-year prohibition period where we have basically prove ourselves that we can integrate into intergalactic society.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to come a point where we're going to have some sort of global representatives to deal with diplomatic meetings. When you really think about it,
I do think there's going to come a point too when they say, "Oh, these aliens that have come down to kill everybody," they're not really, and everybody needs to stand up and stand alongside the aliens and say, "Listen, you're not shooting these guys. We're standing with them. So if you want to kill them, you're going to have to kill us too." Eventually, the military. There's militaries in this world. There's people in the military in this world that are even considering switching sides. It's getting that bad now.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Our leaders are destroying everything.
It is going to get chaotic. Let's face it.
I'm going to say this too. I do think we do need like an open borders policy. I think we should be free to travel anywhere on the earth, free, and without discrimination, because that way we can all live together, right?
Exactly.
We need to learn and see. Oh, you'll get these people out there. Oh, I'm an Englishman and I don't like this and I don't like that in my country. Look, we need to live together. Look, them that's watching us far away, the aliens and stuff like that, want us to start working together. Can you imagine if we put aside all the wars, we stopped killing each other, we started building space stations, we started building fusion power plants, we stopped killing each other. The aliens would come down and help us. They would come down and help us. I do believe that. They would come down and help us. They can't until we start working together.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely think if all the people on the entire planet rose up against the world regimes, if the world regimes turned on us, I definitely think they would just come down and help us. Getting that?
They probably would.
Mm-hmm. I definitely believe that. But it only takes one person to start a revolution. It only takes one person.
Why do you think so many individuals get targeted when they start to speak out about this type of stuff?
But you could see. Here's the thing: you can only take out a number of people, but if everybody's in it, everybody's screwed.
Exactly. It goes to bring into consideration a lot of these individuals that do try to target people, harass people just because they express views that might be different from their own.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen it quite a few times. Do these people realize there is a literal psychological phenomenon known as the Barbara Streisand effect? Where
I've never heard about that.
I brought it up on the show once before. It's where basically people will start to get curious when they hear something's trying to be repressed. Kind of like Boeing whistleblowers all of a sudden blowing their brains out.
At 1 hour and 30 seconds into the show, your voice changed there to something weird.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anybody else hear it?
Did you hear that voice? It sounded like a Cylon.
Mike's back!
Mike, we need you to go and visit all the world leaders only wearing your clogs.
First off, those people would probably get turned on. Just think that through, brother.
You better watch yourself there, Mike, man. There'd be terrible things would be doing to you. Look, we need to rise up and we need to do it soon. And Ken, something if it means people going to jail, if it means people, they can only put so many in the jail. If they arrest the first 2, then the first 200, and then there's 2,000, and then there's 2 million. What they got to do? Put everybody in jail.
Oh, that would be free slave labor here in the U.S.
But they can't. See, that's the thing. See, there's a lot of I definitely think there's a lot of soldiers would turn on their own. You seen the new series that's coming out, Civil War?
Yeah, I saw that.
I think that's the world's heading that way. It's going to implode. It needs to happen. We need a revolution. We need a revolution. We need to clean out the old. We need to get rid of the people that's caused all this bother. I mean, look at this, the elites, the secret societies, like Samuel said last night, the secret societies, the Rockefellers, look at them, right?
Oh, yeah.
We need to drain the swamp, as Trump would say. And I say that's the new Trump. He's a nice guy and all that kind of stuff. But how do we know that he's really on our side? It could just be one big game. We need new government, totally new government.
Mm-hmm.
And they need to stop this. But it's money again. It's money again.
Yeah.
We need to get rid of money.
A lot of these people, when it comes to election time, especially here in the U.S., because I know the rest of, hell, even you in Scotland like to watch the American.
Oh, I do like that.
American elections like it's the next big reality TV series.
I like watching folk freak out like the last one with Donald Trump. The first time he got in, there was all the feminists were rolling about the road with froth coming out their mouth and stuff.
Yeah, no, it's just like, just saying, where the rest of the world likes to watch American politics like it's a fucking reality TV series.
Yeah.
People don't realize both of those sides work for the same motherfuckers. They work for the same people, but at the same time, politicians, when they're campaigning, that's their job interview.
Yeah. Yeah.
And does anybody present who they actually are when they're trying to land themselves a new job? Not really. They try to make themselves look proper, look best, look like they're part of the company image already.
I'm going to say this to now before you jump onto your video and your thing that you're going to be releasing. I'm going to say this to now. There's a small group of people in this world. You know who I'm talking about, Dakota.
Oh, yeah.
And they run everything. They decide who's going to be prime minister. They decide who's going to be president. They decide. And when it comes to Trump and all that, he's a nice guy and he'll probably end the wars and stuff like that. But be careful, because it could be an illusion. It could be smoke and mirrors. It could be working for the same people. You don't know. That's why we need to drain the swamp, as Trump would say, and get rid of everybody. I don't mean like kill them or anything like that. I just like fire them and replace them with like a different way. How does it work in alien worlds? Across it, how do they like have govern governments?
If these individuals show they genuinely want a second chance, they're given the opportunity to prove themselves.
No.
But otherwise, they're dealt with pretty severely.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that much.
Yeah. It's like in Star Trek where actually alien races are presidents of the Earth and stuff like that. Maybe that's what we need. We maybe need somebody else to come from a different world to be our president of the entire planet for a couple of 100 years. I don't know.
Allegedly, they
until
tried.
We can.
You got to look back at some of the mythologies, especially within like Sumeria, Egypt, places like that. They kind of started it that way.
Yeah.
But eventually, it's like I've said on a few interviews that I've done recently. The Earth is often seen like that one relative who always seems to get themselves in trouble because they expect everybody else to clean up their fucking mess.
Yeah.
But the more they're given that attention, the more people come in and try to save them, they don't learn the fucking lesson to better themselves.
I'm going to say this.
The aliens are waiting for us to pull our heads out of our asses.
I'm going to say this to you. See if society did rise up. You know it would be a good thing for the internet to be shut down for 6 months.
Oof. Now that's
Think about that.
that'll incite a revolution. But then
Yeah.
a majority of people wouldn't know how to fucking operate things.
True, but it would put a cog in a spanner in the cog. You know, was that I met Trump's cousin, the oldest child of his uncle, who is Tesla's friend.
Who
Attempted
was
to grab
Tesla's
his.
friend? That it's like, you remember?
That's right.
A lot of Tesla, when Tesla died, a lot of his technology was seized by Donald Trump's uncle.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just found it kind of funny that little historical fact took place, and it's right around when Trump was in office that this ET stuff started getting kicked in high gear.
Do you know Trump could be an alien for a planet where the sun comes out too much? I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
no, that's not why he looks like he's been bathing in Cheetos.
Come on, he's got a rather good tan, I must admit. He's got a fantastic tan, I would say. Like, he would blend in with the
it comes out of a bottle.
I'm surprised nobody's done a song with Donald Trump and Oompa Loompas.
I'm fairly certain there's a few out there already.
Oh God, they have the dude sedated at almost 24/7. So anyway, Dakota, do you have an announcement before the end of the show tonight?
No, I do. And this kind of goes into some of the more creative aspects of Bald and Bonkers. So this was kind of put together last minute. It's been something that's been kind of brewing for a while, but I didn't want to say anything until things were a little bit more secured, as one would say. But Bald and Bonkers now has its own band.
Yeah.
Well, what'd you say, motherfucker?
So
what'd you say about me?
Playing? He's got a wee flute. Oompa, oompa dee dee. I have a song just for you. Oompa dee dee. There you go. Once we start, we can't stop us Oompa Loompas.
Yeah, Chris. Bald and Bonkers now has its own band.
Yep.
And this is going to go into how we're trying to, create music. Try to help content creators out there with all of our courses, the stuff we offer, stuff like that. We have a little bit of a trailer for you all. Why is it pink? I did not make it pink.
I can't see pink. I can see the end stream thing's pink. I can't see pink.
All right, we're gonna see if it behaves itself first, or if I have to bring it back up because I've had it. What? Can't headbang with no. Anyway, some songs have already been underway, but let's see if this will actually work first off. Go, damn you!
The alien ship above your house watching porn. He needs to turn his Wi-Fi off.
All right, I may have to bring it up again. I was all good, trying to be good. Had it on standby since the beginning of the show, so that way we could just play it. But no, it's got to be fucking difficult.
Listen, I'm telling you, tell them to stop using your Wi-Fi.
They can't help it. It's because of where they park. It causes problems. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bald and Bonkers Network would like to present Starlight Amnesia. Remarkable individuals from all walks of life coming together to bring you the ultimate collection of original music.
Playing us like a tune in this
From the highlights of everyday precious moments to the strangest of strange within the paranormal, Starlight Amnesia has the inspiration for it all.
Get ready for the twirl.
Be on the lookout for their debut album coming soon from Bald and Bonkers.
But I can't get no rest. All I want is nobody pressed against my chest.
What do you think?
I've just noticed something. That's really good. That I'll need to get some Velcro so as I can do some headbanging, you know. I'll
See
need
what
some
you did,
Velcro.
Dots. You see what you did, Dots.
Wow.
Yes.
Coming
yes,
soon, Golden Bunker wigs.
But yes, Starlight Amnesia. It was kind of a play off of how none of us can fucking remember what the hell's going on when it deals outer space. But
Well, I've got
a lot of
Pulsar
variety
in
in
it.
music. It's tested well, so be on the lookout. We got it all. We're in the band now, baby.
There you go. I can just see. You got to dress as that guy out of Kiss, the lead singer. No, the kind of big shiny suit and all that kind of
No.
big bouncing bolts in his face and all that kind of stuff, and big high heels. You know,
some of the things you fantasize me in, man, it's a little concerning.
Yeah,
I feel like I need to get an HR department. I feel like we need to get an HR department just to make sure we don't end up getting sued because of your mouth.
Everybody loves Kiss. Let's just face it. Everybody's loves the band Kiss. You know, they really do.
What are you talking about? Most of the younger kids these days who just had their prom nights wouldn't probably even know what Kiss is.
That's right. I'm forgetting that you're just a young little bunny rabbit.
Hey, I know Kiss.
Motherfucker.
Anyway,
it's all coming out now. Anyway, it's been a good night tonight. So, do you have any shows this week planned?
No, not yet. The start of the brand new courses from Bald and Bonkers and the first episode of the new season of Franson Files will come in 2 weeks, as a matter of fact.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. And remember, if you want to learn about podcasting, follow Dakota. You know,
everything will be available right on our main YouTube channel. Those of you who are members already have access to the courses before everybody else, so check them out if it's something you're interested in.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all have a fantastic week. I've got the Dentist of Despair tomorrow, so we come out with a big cordless drill.
Yeah. See what a 54-year-old man coming on the show with braces.
What do you mean I'm 54? I'm 42.
Okay, that's right. I thought it was 42, but I figured I'd throw something out there because you always try to say I'm 70.
What's that? Chris I'm still trying to figure out how to tune my guitar right after being a musician for 34 years.
Well, Chris, if I could get started in the music industry after getting drunk in Rome one night, a true story, you could probably figure out how to tune a guitar.
My family, I don't know, it's my dad and my brother Drew. I don't know if he's still in the chat. They all play the guitar. I've got a Native American flute.
I've seen old pictures of you playing guitar.
Me?
You kind of look like a basement pedophile, but that's another story.
Where's the photos of me playing the guitar?
On your Facebook.
No, there's no.
Yeah. You had it like a cigar. You had a guitar in your hand.
Really?
If you didn't look like a basement-dwelling pedophile, I don't know. You would probably look halfway decent.
I used to play the guitar, the electric guitar, years ago. I used to play like Ghost Rider on it and stuff like that, but I can't remember getting my picture taken.
You did look a little like you were.
You sure that's no somebody else? My other brothers look kind of like I'm the handsome one out of the lot.
Hey, had you not said anything, I wouldn't have believed you and Drew were related.
I know. Drew is a speciality in all itself. I think he's a genetic clone for the planet Zorn.
Zorn, huh?
Oh, strange.
Anyway, we should probably end the show before we go too off the rails.
Bye. Goodbye, everybody.
Much love. Take care.
See you next week.
See y'all next time.
I'm coming for you all.
Who's the one sounding like they're having an orgasm right now?
Is that man naked in the fucking closing? What the fuck?
What the hell is that?
Ooh.